Trump administration to halt random immigration stops and arrests here in Southern California.
Good evening, everybody. On this Friday night, you're watching LA Live News Tonight. I'm Marla Tejas.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Christine Devine. Tonight, we do begin with that breaking news here. That judge issuing a pair of temporary restraining orders limiting the ability of immigration agents to detain people based merely on their race and ethnicity. Also requires detainees be given access to legal counsel.
Now let's bring in Jessica Levinson. She's a law professor from Loyola Marymount University. Good to have you, Professor. This doesn't necessarily stop the raids from happening, the raids like we've seen in recent days, the one at MacArthur Park and the cannabis farm in Camarillo and Carpinteria, or does it?
This is about how, not whether, to enforce federal immigration law. So I think you're exactly right to point out that this is not a judge saying there's a temporary restraining order on enforcing federal immigration law. There's a temporary restraining order on how ICE agents are enforcing that law, and specifically what they can and can't do. And really what I think the decision boils down to, and again, a temporary decision, is that ICE agents need to demonstrate that they have a reasonable suspicion that people are violating federal immigration law, and that that reasonable suspicion isn't based only on the color of someone's skin, the language that they're speaking, and where they are, for instance, if they're outside of a car wash.
All right, so we know that the Trump administration tends to then file appeals on these rulings. Do you expect that? And what does this mean for the rest of the country right now?
Great question. So this is a temporary restraining order, and typically speaking, those are not appealable orders. So what it looks like right now is that the parties are looking forward to the next step, which is a preliminary injunction. And that, just as the name indicates, is a question about whether or not this temporary restraining order will be in place for a longer period of time. At that point, the loser can decide whether or not to appeal up to the Ninth Circuit. And because this is a decision based on the Constitution, obviously, if there are other suits in other jurisdictions, I think they would look to this decision, but it's not binding on them. Certainly, it would be persuasive.
So we do or do not know how long this will last then?
So temporary restraining orders are typically about 10 days. I'm being very general here,
okay,
but we're going to have a hearing, I think, quickly on that next question.
Okay, and then for those detainees that are currently being held, this impacts them as well.
That's right. So the judge said there were 2 temporary restraining orders, and what the judge said is that for those who are currently detained, that they essentially need to be granted access to legal counsel and needed to be granted access to additional information. So it's both forward-looking and, in a sense, backward-looking to those who have already been detained and what rights and access they have the ability to obtain.
So quickly, do all these actions really happen?
That is something that I wish I had a crystal ball. I mean, the question in itself is important because we know the Trump administration has felt that sometimes judicial decisions are just incorrect and have had a variety of different reactions to those decisions. An appeal is different from ignoring a decision. So we need to see what happens in the next few hours and days.
Got it. All right, Jessica Levinson, thank you so much always for your expertise.
Thank you. In the meantime, we have this reaction from LA Mayor Karen Bass. She weighed in on the ruling, saying, in part, this is an important step toward restoring safety, security, and defending the rights of all Angelenos. We went to court against the administration because we will never accept these outrageous and un-American acts as normal.